Hello everyone, it's Ginger here. Welcome back to another pastel video, and we are continuing with the kind of sort of landscapes I've been doing at the moment. And you'll have seen I've been doing a few kind of the sketches, then the colour study sketches, so kind of working up towards each painting, which is my normal process. And we are going to be working up this one. Now this one's a bit of a favourite of mine. I just love the composition and the colours and stuff. And it's from the same location, so it's actually, if you are stood on the road that I painted in the last painting, the road curves that way and goes round that way, and this is the start of the tree bank, which is on that side of that painting. So this is just further down, but looking in a slightly different direction as well. So yeah, this is kind of what we're aiming for. What we've got up on the board is a piece of the Fabriano, this time, Aquarella watercolour paper, and as you can see, I have applied my gesso modelling paste pastel ground mix to create some texture. It's not as heavily textured as some of my other ones, but it has enough texture, and as you can hear, it has that grit that allows the pastel to really stick really well. So I'm going to dump the sketch out of the way, and as usual I start with pastel pencil and just marking out the lay of the land effectively, and this one has got an interesting shape. It is supposed to be very, well, the way I've done it in the sketch and the way it is in real life is it does curve down slightly on this side. However, what should we do? Should we keep it straight? It might be nice actually to keep it really, try and keep it really straight. And also I want a fairly good ratio of sky versus ground. So I want more sky than ground. So we're going to bring it down probably about here. And same on that side. And we're just going to go across, and my usual I can't draw a straight line. Okay, so there's our land, and then we've got the tree line. Kind of comes down along there, and then it kind of skips a bit and kind of slowly kind of peters out on this side, but I'm going to raise it slightly so we've got more of a fencing in. So when you're kind of looking at the composition of these sorts of things, tree lines are really good for causing directional kind of looking. So I want people to focus on this part of the painting, so I create a tree line that points diagonally towards that. And that's what we've got here, is we've got the steep point here and the not so steep point here. And if you do a line between them, so if I do a really faint line that way and that way, you'll see that they actually meet here. And so this here, so I'll put this X, that's my focal point. That's where I want people to look. So now we've got that bit where we've got this also, we've got, this is where the fence line kicks out and then comes along. But like we've got the V there, we want a V coming the other way to point. If you think 4 points on your paper, every one of these has got to be pointing in a direction, and this one, we still want to get to here. So if I point back in that direction, we want this to follow, to come down to here. So that gives us an angle. I want to make that slightly shallower, I think. And then we've got the trough here, like that. So we've got a fence, we've got our main tree line, then we've got a tree line behind this which is a bit further back, and that is a little bit more kind of wiggly. So I'm going to smooth it out slightly, and then it starts to rise quite high up on that side. So it goes that way, and I want this to curve a little bit more. And then in behind that we've got the big hills. So, and we want that feeling of how big these hills actually are. And they are pretty big. So now, as we get down to here, we want our view here. So we've got the V of the mountain there. A nice little pointy bit there. And then it comes down, and then we've got a second bit coming up and off and down that way. So there's our mountains. Right, it looks totally messy. I absolutely get that, but that doesn't matter at this point. Right, let us get some colour down, shall we? And as usual, I want to be working with pastels first. I'm going to find an appropriate blue-grey. can never find any of the colours that I'm looking for, but that's kind of what we're looking for, is a nice blue-grey. And I want to get that in on the mountains first. So where I apply the pastel, I apply it the heaviest points are the points where I want it the darkest, because when you wash it out, it will change anyway. And I don't want it too dark at the bottom because of that tree line, but I know what I want. The same, it kind of, this is where it kind of really picks up on there. A little bit there. Same on that one. Really work that in there. And that's our V, that's the important bit there. Lovely, okay. And I want a little bit of this around where the fence is. I'm just going to put a blob there. That's where the trough is in the middle of the field. Right. Let's add some water to that. Now, I did think whether or not I would spray it and then maybe do this, but actually I think this will be fine. More water. Okay, too much water. Oh dear, what am I like? Me and my water. I love water. I love working with water on paintings because I think it's just fun. And the dentist is slamming the door again. Okay, let's go through, just slap that in. That's our, oh, now I'm throwing water around, that's not helpful. But while I've got paint on the brush, let's get some pretty patterns going, shall we? And some splats. I'll just let some of that run, see where it goes. That's all part of the fun. We'll just let it meander and do what it wants, but generally that's looking okay. It's a nice colour. I love this colour. It's a really gorgeous kind of blue-grey. It's very close to Payne's grey, really close to Payne's grey, and it's still such a gorgeous colour because with pastel, when you add water, certain pigment types, certain minerals react differently to water, and it depends also on the acidity level of your water. And I know that's probably not something most artists think about when you're working and adding water to your paintings, and when you're painting and adding it to your mediums, is actually water has a pH level, and that pH and the acidity or alkaline level will react to the minerals and will change that mineral. And it's not much, like we're talking tiny amount of change between maybe going more blue-green versus more yellow-green, if you're working with a green, for example, or in the case of a blue, slightly more yellow or slightly more blue, or even as far down as purples and reds, depending on the acid or alkaline level of the water you're mixing it with. So it's not really something you need to worry about or even think about unless you're specifically playing with acidity levels to generate better tonnage in your medium, and especially with pastel, because the type of pigments react differently, but then you've also got to think about the binder that's in it as well, and will also react differently. So there's a lot of chemistry. There's a lot of chemistry behind pastels, but that is sitting nicely and probably drying pretty fast, because the good thing about this this mix is because I'm mixing the gesso with the modelling paste. The modelling paste has got a lot of like plaster of Paris mixed in with it, it absorbs it absorbs water really, really quickly, whereas the gesso, because it's more acrylic, kind of reduces it, so you end up with a halfway house, but it still absorbs a lot of water really quickly, and that is fairly dry pretty quickly. So happy with that. So while we're happy with that though, we will look at what we're doing. I want to get this tree line in, and I want to work out what colour I want to put behind that trees. I'm quite liking red as an option actually. Thinking maybe something like the burgundy. I might need it to be darker, but we'll see. I also want this to come down slightly to give a slight angle. Remember, this one's coming this way, so yep. And yes, I am putting a dark mauvey pink colour, burgundy pink colour on. But it's a nice colour that works really well as a complementary colour against the blues. So let's wash that out. Really acidy today as well, which is not helping. Right, I don't want this to run too much. So I'm gonna not really scrub at it too much. Look at that, look how beautiful that colour is. It's absolutely gorgeous. I'm actually going to bring that up. Oh, knew it would run. I knew it would run. Come here. Honestly. What am I like? Good thing I'm working over the top of most of this. Just keeping this relatively loose. I'm not really thinking about the shape of the trees, I'm just brushing it in as a blob. Now, we've got a lot of this going on, so we'll give ourselves some additional colour. It won't matter too much because, bear in mind, we're going over it and we want some of this nice colour underneath anyway. So, but we want it to go in the direction. That's the important thing. That side that way, that side that way. Right. Now, what I do need to do is we need to look at this sky. I want to get some of the golds that I'm going to be putting down here into the sky as well. So it's probably worth getting that in first. Let's get a nice yellowy gold colour in. Ooh, this is really yellow. Is that going to be too much? It doesn't matter, does it? So it's because the sun's on this side, so I want to get a little bit of that in. Doesn't matter if I get it onto the mountain so much because I kind of want it up there. Going that way. Yeah, this is looking like a suitable mess. Perfect. Maybe I should sell it like this. What do you reckon? We'll just call that a masterpiece and sell it like that. No, I wouldn't do that. Right. Still need something for this. And it kind of needs to be a lighter colour. I did have a nice grey floating around. That's a green. That's a very green. Huh. Okay, not that. for that? I made it more dark, more blue actually. Let's go with something a bit blue again, shall we? How blue is the question. Do I want to go really blue, or do I want to go bright blue? I think bright blue is going to be too much. Let's go with this, which I think will look better once it's washed out. Okay, right, let's wash that out and see what we get. I'm going to take a little bit of the water off the brush before I go in with this. Yeah, that's okay, actually. Just trying to get the direction right, because it's all coming down. Right, that looks really dark. I'm not overly worried about it though. I'll just put some of this in here, because we know that's the shadow along there and along there. Like that. I think that makes sense. Right, what you want to do is I want to get some blue. Let's get some blue into that sky. Still want to keep it more on the kind of grey blue colour though. So this is nice because it's lighter. So to there I think would work really well. And then some of the lighter blue. I've got this colour over the top of that. And then again, we will wash that out. And hopefully not make green. Just gently putting water on the top. I'm not spreading this around too much. Just lightly brushing water over the top. And also taking that into these hills so that we get some of that. Getting some of that yellow into the hill there, just letting that spread in. Okay, that's looking better for the sky. We're starting to really get those kind of tones and yellow tones, muting them down, pushing the hills back a wee bit as well. Let's get that yellow off of that pink. Right, that needs to dry fully before we start working up the next bit. Right, this is nice and dry and holding up really well. So loving the colours and the way the skies come out. Love these little sky holes in the sky. Sky holes in the sky, always good. Right, what do I want to do? Well, I usually like working top down, so maybe I should actually work with the sky a little bit more. We'll get some Neocolor, I think, in. And just, we need it a little bit, I think we need a little bit darker. So let's see about where we want to make that darker. Probably along here. A little bit along there. It's all about lines of the sky. It's all about where you're pointing. And the question is that enough? Or do I need, I'm going to put a little bit here. A little bit darker there. Okay, let's add a little bit of water to that and see how that goes. I'm going to switch to my soft synthetic brush, so this one rather than my flat, because this one holds a little less water, which means with the Neo colours I can be a bit more delicate with it without getting too much water on. You can see there, I'm not really, there's not a lot of water going on. But it's just damp enough that it's activating the Neo colour, allowing me to kind of push that around. So it's picking up some of the texture of the paper. Also having a little bit of fun at the same time. Let's come down a little bit to there, I think. A little bit of water on this side, and just really bring that, activate these lines. The top of that mountain there, right. Getting a little better. It's looking darker, not necessarily better, but that doesn't matter at this point in time. And I want to also add some into the mountain. I want to really bring some of the greys, blue greys back in. So I really like the blue I'm working with at the moment. This is the one I made. So it's steel blue, and it's got a lot of yellow in it. I'm just going to go. Where I'm coming down, that line continues going that way, so we'll continue that line down and bring some of that darkness down. The same with that, a little hump. This is our main line here, so this is where we've got that beautiful V. I can't remember, it's this side, this goes this way, like that. Really dark there, a bit on the hill. Bring that down, and then to this side we've got little bits and pieces. slightly darker at the bottom now. Not all the way, but certainly some of the way. And this one's set a little bit more up. That's helpful. I'll break it by pushing too hard. And I just really want to get that in there. Even know where the bits of that went. Right. Let's add a little bit of water to that. Again, I don't want too much. I'm just thinking what I can pick out. Kind of lightly brushing water over the bits I've just put down. It's more just to activate it than anything else, and just give a little bit of texture to the Neos. I mean, the Neos got texture anyway, they're crayons, so they pick up a lot of texture from the actual surface, which is good. But at the same time, make sure it's dark at the bottom where we hit that tree line. Kind of like that. Okay, that's a bit better. That's really push it. It's not pushing the hills into the distance because it's brought them forward again because I've made them darker. Oh, blue fingers. But as that starts to dry and we start putting the lighter colours over the top, they'll push back. I'm not worried about that at all, which is good. I do want to start working some of the whites into this. Now, I'll probably do this in two ways. I want to bring in some Neos, but I also want to bring in some of the pastel. Now, pastel over the top of Neos being wax, the pastel pigment doesn't have a lot to stick to. So you have to be really, really kind of careful and think a lot about where we're putting stuff. So this is a light grey. This is called silver grey, I think. Yeah, silver grey. I tend to like my colours to be not white. It's very rare that I use white. I'm going to brush some of that out. We will see. Just going over some of this where the mountain is as well. Just soften bits of this where we've got too much of a harsh edge on the hill coming into the sky. It also just pushes that back, the hills back a wee bit as well. Right, I want to add a tiny amount of water and see. The problem with the lighter colours is they do tend to go a little bit too transparent. But the nice thing about the Neo colours is they don't have that. You can see there how much that changed as soon as I put the water on. It certainly became more present. I'll definitely soften again once I add the pastel as well. Let's just blend that down a bit. Okay. And on this side, I can barely see what I'm doing. Okay, so the sky is starting to look a little bit more layered, a little bit more interesting with the colours. We've just softened some of the edges of those hills and pushed them back. We've still got our tree line here and our main tree line here, so that's what we're going to work on next. And I want to go in and just with a really heavy dark, and this I think is a brown. It is. So this is a brown. Do I want a brown or did I want a blue? Or is this the blue? Is this the blue? Oh, this is the blue. Right, so this is a really super dark blue. It's a Snellier. I want to buy another one because it's an unbelievably beautiful dark blue, but they never have it in stock. It's really, really dry as a pastel, so it sheds like crazy, and it means that you just don't get, like on paper like this, it just eats into it. It becomes really difficult to use. But for the sake of my sanity, I do want to get this down. And just really start darkening up that colour on that tree line as we go across. Going this way. Right, let's just blending that in with my fingers rather than a paintbrush this time. And up and down, because that's, I mean, this is where direction also matters, especially with pastel. You want to make sure that you're getting the right direction, because you will see it and it is noticeable. Flat along there. Bring some of that down slightly. We just want to make sure we've got a little bit of a shadow line along the tree line there. Take all the dust off. Now we have really blue fingers, look at that. I'm just going to dip them into pot, my water pot, and just wipe them down. Take a lot of that blue off. It's a very strong pigmented colour, so I don't want that everywhere. Right, how's that looking? Suitably dark is the answer. So while we're looking at our suitably dark, shall we get some green in? Because it's the only colour we've not actually got in, and you know, it is grass and stuff, so we probably should get some green in. So let's find a green. Let's find a suitable green. That's a suitable green. So I want something that has got enough yellow in it, because remember, whilst we've got a lot of blues, these blues are all blues that have yellow in, so they're more the steel blue tones rather than, say, the indigo blue tones going into the reds. So we want to make sure that we've got some of that, we're still carrying across that colour with what we're doing. Remember, that's our line cut off there, and we're doing lines that way, and then same with this. This is our line here, and it's going a slightly different direction, so that comes down, we change direction, we're going that way. Right, let's see what happens now. Do I want to water that? Do you know what, I'm going to spray it, because I want it, I don't mind if it runs, because it doesn't matter on the bottom half. Maybe I'll just lightly brush it with my fingers. I do want to keep some of it on the paper, but I want to be able to see a lot of this behind as well. Okay, right. Now let's spray that. Also helps take any loose dust off. You can see it running slightly. Not too much, but enough. There, that should be enough just to move it around a little bit and also really push the pigment into the paper. Now I've got green and blue fingers. Right, and on that happy note, that needs to dry before I can do anything else to it. So we will come back to it. Okay, so that's dry. And now I do want to start getting some of my lightest colour into this sky. And it's just because I want it that way. But I'm also going to make sure that I get some of this absolutely want that light part up there. You see that's making a huge difference, just bringing that light section in. I'm gonna kind of bring it over. Being careful there, just not to try and get rid of that mountain section too much. A lot brighter at this end. Okay, like that. While I wear that hill there, I'm gonna get that in. Right. That's looking a lot better. Now I want to come in and just reinforce sections like here where we've got that hill, and just push some of these, well, not push, but actually pull some of these bits back. And if you're wondering what I mean by push and pull, when I say push, I mean as in push it back into the distance. So it kind of fades out a wee bit and disappears and softens into the distance. When I mean pull, I mean re-accent some of the lines, make some of it a little bit bolder, a little bit more harsher, a little bit more contrasty, and therefore it brings it back into focus. But yeah, we've got really fine lines I'm bringing in here. Just where we want our that little bit of accent at the top of the hill there, and then where we've got this, it kind of comes up. I'm just getting that line in, that line that way, and over. Something like that. There we go. It's a bit better. Now it just looks like it's snowed. Wonderful. Well, yeah, doesn't bother me too much. Right, let's work on this bit. I want a nice kind of mid-grey on this one. I have got a mid-grey neo colour, and for this one, it's just loosely kind of scrubbing that in. It is trees, so we want some horizontal lines, some vertical. Going over where we want things. Bring it down into that, doesn't matter. Right, we'll add a little bit of water. because I want to activate it. The grey's a little dark on top of that blue. It will be lighter. Have to watch. See how much lighter it is once I've added water. It'll mix nicely with that blue. Like I said, it's not so much about mixing it, it's more just about activating it. Maybe take some of that white out. Yeah, and oh, look at where it's running. Let's use the cloth and pick some of that off. Come here. I don't really want you there. There we go. Right. But this is where I can use the cloth to pull some of this down into this front tree line. And it will just help blend that tree line in a little bit, because otherwise we're going to end up with too stark a difference between the two. And we don't want that. And this looks messy at the moment, but we'll reinforce that, so I'm not too worried. And we want to get some yellow, golden yellow colours into this grass. Bear in mind, we've still got our fence line, which is coming along there. Coming off, get back on there. And the same in that direction, except this is a little bit longer. Right, should we spray? I think I'll spray that. And that'll just activate the neos. What happens when I pick up the paintbrush? I'll use the other paintbrush in the process. I'm just gonna blend a little bit of this out. It's softening anyway because it spreads. It spreads really nicely. It's up here where we've got the slightly more heavy texture, and I need to bear in mind that this is a little bit more shadowy on this side because of where that tree line is. So I want to bring that down. Don't like that one there. Okay, that needs to dry. But in the meantime, we can start working on this tree line. And this should be, yeah, that's fairly dry as well. So let's work that one back in. I'm just going to go in with the darker grey first. Remind that this is all trees, so I'm just scrubbing it in, but also giving it a little bit of shape along the top line. I'm pressing quite hard just to get these kind of squiggly lines, just to really kind of give that a little bit more shape. Let's see, up that way. And then probably want to go over that lighter one actually. Okay, that's given me a sort of tree line. I'm not 100% happy with it. I might need to go darker with the blue. I'll be careful because this is a red. Actually, that might work better. Like so, we'll see. In the meantime, shall we do something about this tree line? And I've got a couple of different colours, and I really want to kind of get in with some of the browns. This is a new pastel, so this is a ready brown. It is lighter. It's more about making sure I try and get some nice tones in with this tree line, because I don't want it too spindly either. It's not about getting loads of detail in. So yeah, that's a bit better. It's still all very dark compared to the other one, which was a lot lighter in tone. So my sketch is a lot lighter in tone. So, but that's where we get to have fun, isn't it? Is bringing it forward and back. Just softening that edge there, because I want that to make sure that blends into the shadow section. Okay, we're starting to kind of get there. There's a lot of things wrong with this painting at the moment, and I'll explain more, I think, when I get to the end, why there's a lot of things wrong with it and what I could do to fix it, because at the moment this needs to be darker. I think actually this probably is going to be the best colour to do it with. Bear in mind, this is the distant tree line there. I just don't like having lines that are kind of too liney. Lines that are too liney. Oh wow, I'm good with my words today. What I mean is lines that are just too prominent and look almost like illustration rather than actually painterly. Just adding some of this blue in over the top of the pastels. This is where just bringing that line down a little bit, because that's where our thing is, and then we've got our trough here. I'll just mark that in. I'm wondering whether or not I can just bring that out a little bit more, like that. And then some of the blue back into our tree line. This is just to keep adding up those textures and colours so that we get depth from the trees. Just kind of picking and choosing where I want a little bit more difference going on, like that. Okay, that's looking a little better. I think part of it is all of this down here is going to be very dark and we don't have a lot of light going on, and that's going to change when I start getting these lighter colours in. So we'll start with probably one of the greys, and this one is the light grey rather than the silver grey. I'm going to bring, so I don't like that line there. I think I need to do something about that. The question is where is the blue? I'm just going to bring that down slightly. I think it's just because at the moment that's a little too much of a straight line. I'm going to try and break up that line. And then we've got I'm just going to bring some of that lightness back. See more of this kind of almost kind of lighter colours coming through, and this is where we start getting our light there. Bear in mind that that's our fence line. That's the grey white. It's not our lightest colour either, but I am going to add a little bit of water to that. Just activate some of that slightly. That's a bit better. Lovely. Right. And then we want to come in with some of our lighter coloured pastels now and really start kind of getting some of these colours in. I want more of a, I think for one of my golds. What is it? No, I think that's going to be too yellow. So I always have the fun trying to work out kind of what colour I'm aiming for. I do want it a little bit lighter, so I'm wondering actually if I can come in with some of this. so we're just bringing this in. It's a gorgeous colour. It's a lot lighter. And it's about kind of just bringing these textures back in along our field line, underneath all that beautiful colour. I don't want too much up here, but I do want some just to help define that line there without losing kind of, well, not losing, but making it end up looking like we've kind of just cartoonily drawn a line in. And the same with this side, is bringing this line and this colour down. And I just want some of this blended. I just feel like it's a little too much down there at the moment. Okay, so now it's looking very yellow. Wonderful. So let's get some of our lighter green in. This is our Neocolor coming in. This is just one of our green. This is a green, light green. A bit more green there. I feel like this has got really messy really quickly, which I don't like. We'll go back to that and just bring some of that blue back in. Just want a little bit of that blue in there, it just creates a little break from where that's going. The question is, do I want to lighten the tree line anymore? Possibly slightly. And we can lighten it with this, which will just lighten the tops, I think. A bit better? I think so. It just needed to be a little bit this one's closer than that one, so I want it to kind of reflect that on the light side. And then come back in and really bring some of this gold back in. This is where our fence line is. That's a little better. I just need a little bit more of that gold, I think. It's quite a muddy field just because of the way everyone's out and about all the time. So there's a lot of the ground is just kicked up. And then maybe actually bring in some of our white. Just where I really want to bring that lightness. Yeah, just little touches of it, not much, but enough. That's okay, right. Now, this fence post line is not going to be easy, I don't think, because it's just about see it there. Okay. Really fine line with the pastel. And letting it skip and break up. Because I don't really need it to really be there too much. And the same, I think, how are we looking? And the same this way. Okay, let's take the tape off and see where we're at. I'm not 100% happy with it, and there's a couple of different reasons. The first one being is that the hills are too big. I think they should have this whole bit, not the tree line, this whole bit should have been smaller, and there should have been a lot more sky. And I think that would have really helped with what we were doing. The sky's now annoying me. Thanks for that, sky. Didn't think I needed to add to my worries, but accordingly I did. Now I need to add a bit of water to that. Honestly, what am I like? Just wanted to soften that up because it's a little too textured. Right, there we go. So this bit's too big, and I think had it been reduced to about here with a bit more sky and then moved all of this up, I think that probably would have looked a little better. Because yeah, I think the ground is struggling because of the mountains. I think the mountains are just ever so slightly too much. And it's annoying when you kind of look at that sort of thing and you're like, right. Okay, I'm fiddling. Let's get the tape off before I actually end up overworking it. It should come off fairly easy because it had a fair amount of water at one point or another. There's one. There's two. The bottom is a mess, which is annoying, so I would have liked a nice clean edge there, but no. I kept thinking, where's my corner pieces? And I remember I put some double-sided tape on the back of this, so it's actually stuck to the board, which is why there's no corner pieces. But there we go. Right. And there it is in all its wonderful glory. Not 100% happy with it, but still, it's turned out okay. I think we may come back to this one. Let's see what happens. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me today, and I will see you all soon for another one. Ta-ta for now. Messy fingers. Yee.